As believers, is it okay to ask the hard questions like, does taking the vaccine affect my spirituality? Is it a sign of spiritual weakness? Can we provide a safe space to ask these hard questions without fear or anxiety?
Well, I'm 72 years old, and I've been a believer, a Christian for some 50 years. And over these 50 years, I've heard of many things that have been identified as the mark of the beast. For example, Mikhail Gorbachev was a Soviet leader in the 1980s. There's a scar on his forehead that looks like a dragon. And there were people who were convinced that it was the mark of the beast based on Revelation chapter 12, that he would be the Antichrist because Satan had branded him in his mother's womb. And then I remember when the barcode was first introduced in the US in the 1970s, when it came to Singapore in the 1980s, they were also those people who believed that the barcode has the number 666 in it. Now, I remember listening to a lecturer at our university giving evidence that this will be something that will be used by Antichrist as the mark for those who belong to him. I mean, look at these two examples. Where is Gorbachev now? Some of us have forgotten about him, and some of us have never heard of him. And the barcode is everywhere. So it's almost saying that the QR code is a mark of the beast now, and that we shouldn't use a QR code to give offering to the church, because then we'll be using a mark of the beast.
Right. That's similar to what's going on now, where people are saying that there's a certain enzyme that's being associated with the number 666 again, or the vaccine is being injected into our body.
Well, I would be very hesitant to identify the vaccine as the mark of the beast, because there have been so many false identifications in the past. I mean, I've heard it said that the vaccine will defile a person spiritually, but Jesus made it very clear when he was speaking to the religious leaders of his day. It's not what goes into you that defiles you, it's what comes out of you that defiles you. And what comes out of you will be things like malice and slander and evil thoughts and words and anger and so on.
The mark of the beast only appears in Revelation chapter 13, right? The prelude to the mark of the beast is the Antichrist appears on the world scene, okay? And he's not Bill Gates. So he appears on the world scene, right? Now, when he comes, he deceives the whole world, because everybody will be saying, the inhabitants of the world will be saying, who is like the beast? Who can make war like the beast? So he's an undefeated general. He's somebody who would literally sway the whole world. He must have such personality that that the world has never seen before. And it's during the time of the Antichrist, that's when the mark of the beast is introduced. It's an economic mark, right? It's on the forehead or the right hand, okay? The vaccination is not the mark of the beast.
And Pastor, these days, in truth, there are so many different versions of it. What can we really put our trust in?
How do you know what to trust? Discernment is the ability to know truth and to separate truth from error, right? And we need a huge dose, a massive dose of discernment in the church today, right? Because there's so much information floating and we don't know what is right and what is wrong, all right? And so we have to learn to depend on the Holy Spirit and His guidance. That's the most important thing, right?
I'm one of those reluctant ones. I like everybody else, because it's so new, so I had to read up, and then I was fed lots of information by some friends. One of them was that they put chips in the vaccine, and then it will go into your body and do strange things. Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts or advice for senior citizens who are struggling as to should I do it, should I not? How to discern fake news versus real news? Do you have any advice to them?
I heard these things about Bill Gates, etc., etc. One of the good sources would be recognized paper, like Channel News Asia, BBC, because to be in the broadcasting, you do have to check and double check your news.
How can we speak truth in love? How can we do this better?
We need to listen to the older folks, their fears, why they do not want to take.
So if you don't mind, Mary, I would love to hear a little bit about your journey about taking the vaccine? Because I understand that at the beginning, you had some thoughts and hesitations. Could you share some of those concerns with me?
Yeah, well, I told a lot. I mean, I'm staying alone, and I don't mind dying, but it is when it's half dead, that is where the problem is. Because when I have some issues, there's big problem because my family, my children are all away, and I don't want to cause them inconvenience. And so I sought the Lord. One verse in Psalm 118, verse 17, just stood up for me. Yeah, and it says, I will not die, I will live and proclaim what the Lord has done. Yeah, and that spoke to me and just said, oh, okay, I will not die, so take it. So take the vaccine. So when I told him that, so and so, I have decided, I don't know whether it was a joke or what, he said, okay, be prepared to die in 2 years. We are friends, I took it as a joke. Yeah, but I had assurance from the Lord. So I mean, if it's time to die, it's time to go, it's time to go. I'm not really that concerned.
When you shared that, what really stood out to me was that you put your assurance in the Lord.
Yes.
And not so much in the vaccine, in that you felt that the Lord had spoken to you about it and you decided to take it in faith.
Absolutely.
I mean, in a time where there's so many kinds of theories and so many versions of the truth, really, where and what or who can we put our trust in?
I think in the end, I asked myself, who do I trust? Who do I trust and who do I fear? I trust God with my life, that He will take me home only at the time of His choosing, not anyone else's choosing. I think this is a time when we see people infected, people dying. I think it's a time to ask ourselves, now, one day we will die. No COVID or no COVID, vaccine or no vaccine. One day we will leave this world. So I would say that this is a time for you to be thinking about your own relationship with God, and be prepared to meet Him anytime. He says there are only 2 days in all eternity that matters. Only 2 days. Today and that day when you stand before God in judgment.